Smith is stuck in a meeting, so he will be joining us at some time during the meeting tonight. But until then, I will be serving as your facilitator. May we stand for the flag salute, please? It's over here in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Denise, will you please do the roll call?
Adam Smith, as we know, is not here at the moment. Julie Epstein.
Here.
Sandra Alvarez.
Here.
Deborah Brooks is joining us remotely, is that correct? Okay.
She will be, yes.
Okay. Rachel Gilliar.
Here.
Nanette Malconian.
Here.
And Jessica Milwani.
Here.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adopt the November 18th, 2025 agenda, or making a motion, can I have a second to adopt it? Ms. Alvarez, all in favor? 5-0. And with that, to our opening act, we are so excited to welcome a performance from the Daily Chorus led by Mr. Tyler Mason Draffin.
Good evening. We are Daily Select Chorus for the 2025-2026 school year. Tonight is our first performance, but certainly not our last. After the Pledge of Allegiance, please stay standing for the national anthem. After that, we have two selections for you. The first is a swing melody called The Rain Round, and the next is an arrangement of Van Morrison's 1970 song, I Shall Sing. If you would like to follow us on our Instagram page, it's at Daily Select Chorus. Thank you and enjoy.
Raise your hand. Part one, raise your hand. Part two's raise your hand. Part two's Michael, come on this side. Ada, come on this side.
Wait, no, he's not part two. I'm part one.
Michael, come on this side.
Rain,
As you exit, thank you so much. You guys were amazing, but they're going outside. Yes. I would go through this aisle. I would go this way, guys. Go that way. No, sweetheart, go that way, right there. There you go. Parents, well done with these performers. Should be proud. Again, that was our daily chorus. We really appreciate that they were here to start our meeting and to entertain us with their beautiful voices. With that said, we're going to continue on to business, making a motion to recess to executive session to discuss negotiations. Do I have a second? Ms. Milwani, all in favor? Ms. Gilliar, are you in favor? Okay, that's all right, 5-0. We will now recess and return around 7:30. Thank you so much.
Association on Aging in New York is celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Older Americans Act, which funds vital programs for millions of older adults. Services include meals, transportation, home care, Medicare counseling, case management, and today, people are uncertain whether some programs remain available. We can help. To learn more about these essential programs and how to keep them, visit our website at agingny.org. Sponsored by the Association on Aging in New York.
1-877-CARS for kids. KARS, Cars for kids. 1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today. 1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 1-877-CARS for Kids to reach a friendly live agent.
Test 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. Test 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Board of Education meeting. I'm going to make a motion to reconvene in public. Do I have a second? Ms. Alvarez, all in favor? We are still 5-0. Wonderful. And I'm going to ask that the district clerk do the roll call, please.
Adam Smith is absent. Julie Epstein,
Here.
Sandra Alvarez,
Here.
Deborah Brooks.
Ms. Brooks is here by phone. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Rachel Gilliard,
Here.
Nanette Melkonian, here. Jessica Milwani,
Here.
and Kaylin Costello.
Here.
Thank you.
Good evening once again, and welcome to tonight's Board of Education meeting. We have a robust agenda ahead, so I'll keep my comments brief. I want to begin by highlighting the Schreiber Theater Company's production of Sense and Sensibility this weekend. Performances will take place this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with 2 p.m. matinees on Saturday and Sunday, and 7:30 evening shows. I encourage everyone to come out and support our incredibly talented students. It's truly Broadway quality, just with a much shorter commute. Our fall athletes have also had an outstanding season. We want to recognize all of our student athletes: football, girls and boys volleyball, girls and boys soccer, cross country, tennis, field hockey. It has been truly a banner year, with many teams advancing to the semifinals and beyond. While we are spotlighting just a few achievements this evening, we are proud of each and every one of our athletes. Highlights this season include our girls swimming team finishing as Nassau County runners-up, and our Nassau County champion 200 freestyle relay team, May Strasser, Mila Fisher, and Camilla Coe, who are in top spot in the county. Our field hockey team also reached the Nassau County finals, and our girls tennis team had an exceptional season, finishing as county finalists, with Brianna Lewis and Evie Lowy placing 5th in the state. We also want to acknowledge our portets and cheerleaders whose spirit, dedication, and energy support our teams week after week. With such a strong fall showing, we look forward with excitement to what the winter season will bring. Lastly, Parents Council, because we were speaking about athletes especially, is hosting a community conversation tomorrow called Beyond the Game, Building Healthy Athletes for Life. It's at 7:30 p.m. in the Schreiber Library. All are welcome, and interested attendees can RSVP through Parents Council. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Posse for the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. As we approach Thanksgiving, a moment when the tempo of our daily lives briefly softens so that we can enjoy the company of our family and friends, I want to begin by wishing our Port Washington community a warm, restorative, and restful holiday. This past month has offered a vivid portrait of a district in motion, and I'd like to briefly highlight a few areas of progress aligned to our 25-26 priority areas. On Wednesday, October 23rd, students and staff across the district participated in Unity Day, a day meant to underscore the values of kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. Students engaged in lessons and activities focused on empathy, respect, and anti-bullying, work that directly supports our efforts to strengthen student voice, resilience, and build a positive school climate. The most important message of the day was that a strong school climate begins with daily actions that make children feel safe, heard, and valued. In our work to create partnerships that empower, we held our first district-wide parent university. Families joined us for sessions on executive functioning, social emotional development, and healthy technology habits. Offering the program in both English and Spanish expanded access and reflects our commitment to responsive communication with families. I want to thank the families who participated, along with the steering committee that put together such a wonderful event. Alongside this, Dr. Baer and Mr. Orini convened a community book talk on the anxious generation, deepening an important conversation about childhood technology and well-being. And I want to thank Dr. Baer and Mr. Orini for doing that. Our commitment to academic and personal excellence was also prominently on display this month. Our elementary principals presented at the National Literacy Mega Conference. Their session, Better Together, How Principal Collaboration Fuels Innovation, Strength-Based Leadership, and Student Success, highlighted the cross-school leadership model that continues to strengthen coherence across our elementary schools. Similarly, Dr. Feeney and Dr. Baer presented Rewriting the Code using generative AI to modernize the Student Code of Conduct at the Long Island Leads Conference. demonstrating how emerging tools can support thoughtful policy review and student-centered practices. And in her role as president of the Nassau County High School Principals Association, Dr. Baer led a session on the New York State Portrait of a Graduate for Regional Leaders. These invitations to present locally, regionally, and nationally signal something important. Port Washington is not merely keeping pace with educational thought leadership, we're helping to shape it. I want to extend my deepest appreciation to our administrative team for the expertise, collaboration, and forward-looking mindset they bring to their work. Adding to that sense of pride, I want to share that students from Long Island University's Dean Scholars Program will visit Sousa Elementary School on Friday to observe the Ruler Social Emotional Learning Program in action. Sousa continues to be recognized by the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence as a spotlight school, and the team is eager to showcase what integrated SEL looks like when done exceptionally well. And I want to congratulate Dr. Sheehan. I want to congratulate the Ruler implementation team for modeling the kind of thoughtful, student-centered practices that elevate student learning. In my visits to classroom throughout Sousa, you can see this practice is a prominent feature of the student experience here. And all the credit goes to the teachers for implementing that. Before I move into my update on the listening tour, I want to acknowledge a concern that we heard from families regarding schools remaining open while polling takes place. We fully understand the unease that can arise when Guggenheim, Sousa, and the middle school service polling places during instructional hours. This year's calendar did not allow us to close school on Election Day, while next year's calendar appears to be more flexible. It's not always possible to close for the full range of voting events, primaries, special elections, and other instances set by the Board of Elections. To that end, we have formally requested that polling be relocated away from our elementary schools to other sites in the community. Student safety remains our highest priority, and we'll update the board and the community as soon as we receive a response. Of course, it should go without saying that we do take measures to increase security when polling is taking place. We collaborate with the Port Washington Police Department and the Sands Point Police Department to request an increased presence around our schools, especially during school hours. So with that, I'd like to turn to our listening tour and share what we've heard from families, staff, and community members. So as we continue to deepen our work in the 25-26 priority areas, we have been gathering feedback from our stakeholders to ensure that our goals reflect the needs and experiences of those that work in our schools and those that we serve. A central component of priority area 4, partnerships that empower, is listening carefully to our families, staff, and students. In recent weeks, I've met with faculty and staff in every building and held community sessions attended by approximately 40 community members. In addition, 283 participated in the thought exchange, generating 178 thoughts and 4,000 ratings. An impressive snapshot of our community's expectations. The response represents a broad range of perspectives and reflect a strong desire to continue improving educational outcomes and student experiences. Families expressed deep appreciation for our teachers, curricular offerings, and sense of community, while also calling for greater consistency across instructional programs. A few themes came through clearly. First, our families and staff are deeply proud of this school district, our teachers, our sense of community, and the opportunities our students enjoy. They want Port Washington to continue reaching for excellence academically, socially, and emotionally. Second, there's a clear desire for greater consistency and coherence across curriculum, instruction, and student support. Families want to know that every classroom in every school reflects the same high expectations and robust learning experiences. And teachers express that they want to ensure that students receive the support that they need in a timely manner. Third, our community values relationships. Families want children to feel known, supported, and connected to their teachers, and they want us to continue nurturing kindness and belonging in every school and classroom. Fourth, parents want to be true partners. They value proactive communication and want to understand the why behind decisions. There's a great deal of trust and goodwill in this community, and families want to be part of strengthening our schools. Finally, there's broad appreciation for our facilities and programs, paired with the recognition that we must continue investing in spaces that are modern, safe, and aligned with the future needs of our students. In short, and this will come as no surprise to the people that call Port Washington home, Port Washington is a proud and caring community that expects and deserves a world-class educational experience for its children. The listening tour reinforced that our priority areas are focused on the right work, and that these insights will continue to guide our implementation in the months ahead. I'm grateful for the openness and honesty that so many people shared with me, and I look forward to working collaboratively to translate this feedback into meaningful action. Toward that end, I've asked our assistant superintendents to provide brief updates on several key areas of our instructional work, all of which are deeply aligned to the themes we heard in the listening tour. As I stated before, families emphasize the importance of consistent, high-quality instruction in every classroom and strong support systems for every learner. The work Dr. Feeney and Dr. Allen will share this evening reflects the concrete steps we're taking to address those priorities. Dr. Feeney will begin with an update on our elementary literacy initiative, which is central to Priority Area 1, Academic and Personal Excellence. Dr. Feeney.
Thank you, Dr. Passy. So our PGCD Reading Committee has made steady progress in year 2 as we strengthen evidence-based literacy practices across all elementary schools. On Superintendent's Conference Day, every elementary teacher participated in professional development with Dr. Molly Ness on effective read-aloud practices. That session gave us a shared foundation for improving comprehension and vocabulary work in every classroom. All elementary schools are now using a K-2 evidence-based program for phonics and phonemic awareness. This has brought consistency within each building and ensures that the early pillars of reading are taught with greater alignment and clarity. During November, actually we're in the middle of it right now, and again in February, each grade level will take part in half-day sessions with the Living Literacy Network. The first round focuses on the pillars of reading and gives teachers structured time for planning and discussion. The second round will shift to profiles of a reader to help teachers support students with varied reading needs. Committee members are researching several high-quality reading programs. Their work will lead to a short list of options to consider for piloting next year. This runs in parallel with our ongoing small group instruction work in mathematics and supports the broader PGCD plan to strengthen instruction in both of these content areas. The district continues to implement the RTI plan that was updated last year. The work of the Reading Committee is closely connected to that effort, since consistent evidence-based reading instruction is essential to meeting the learning needs of all of our students. I'd like to remind elementary parents that we will be discussing some of the instructional changes that are taking place during our webinar beginning at 6:15 p.m. tomorrow. The link has been shared via Parent Square. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Feeney. And yes, please be sure to join our webinar tomorrow evening at 6:15, focused on district practices related to mathematics, literacy, response intervention, and academic intervention services. As Dr. Feeney said, families received an email today with a link to submit questions. There will also be an opportunity to ask questions in the webinar chat, and we certainly hope that those that are interested will join us. Let me now ask Dr. Allen to provide an update on our district-wide MTSS training, a core component of Priority 2, professional learning for faculty and staff, and our efforts to strengthen Tier 1 instruction and student support systems.
Thank you, Dr. Passy. So this year, the district has launched a multi-year initiative in partnership with an agency referred to or called Catalyst Education to implement a comprehensive multi-tiered system of supports. This work is designed to enhance the capacity of our instructional support teams to use data-driven, collaborative problem-solving for identifying and addressing students' academic and social-emotional needs. The initial phase of this implementation focused on the elementary IST process, with the shift to the middle and the high school levels planned for subsequent years. The initiative formally began with a keynote session that was held on Wednesday, October 22nd, which was attended by elementary and secondary principals, IST members, and district leaders. A second session held on Wednesday, November 12th, included elementary principals, IST members, district leaders, and concentrated on defining an effective IST. Our next steps include individual on-site planning and coaching sessions for each of our 5 elementary schools, their IST members, and that's scheduled for December 3rd and December 12th. 2 final sessions are currently planned for the spring semester. Ultimately, this MTSS initiative represents a critical investment in building a more cohesive, sustainable, and equitable system of support, ensuring that all of our students are provided with the targeted interventions they need to succeed both academically and social-emotionally. We are extremely excited about the work being done by our dedicated teams and look forward to our continued partnership with Catalyst Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Lastly, I've asked Dr. Shields to share our district's enrollment report. This information is essential to our long-term planning and directly supports our work in Priority Area 5, efficient operations and future-ready facilities. Understanding our enrollment trends allows us to make informed decisions about staffing, programming, and facility needs across the district. Dr. Shields.
Yes, thank you. The last enrollment report was calculated on November 12th. So kindergarten through 12th grade at that time had 5,091 students. That's 168 students less than this time last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. Finally, before I conclude my report, I want to acknowledge 2 items on tonight's agenda. The first is an appointment. I would like to just acknowledge that Nicholas Vane is here. And tonight, it's anticipated that he'll be appointed as the supervisor of school facilities and operations, leaving a vacancy in his head custodian role at Daly Elementary School. And Mr. Vane, we wish you the best of luck and congratulate you on achieving this career milestone. So congratulations, Mr. Vane. Finally, I want to acknowledge that this evening's agenda includes several retirements. Among them is the retirement of Denise Atenito, whose long and distinguished career includes positions as the principal's secretary, secretary to the superintendent, and deputy district clerk. I feel fortunate to have had the opportunity to work alongside Denise during these past 4 months. Though I wish our time together had been longer, I'm deeply grateful for her steady presence, her deep institutional knowledge that I don't know how we will replace, and her generosity of spirit. I know all of us will join in thanking her for her years of service and wishing her every happiness in a well-deserved retirement. Congratulations, Denise. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Posse. Denise will say nice things about you in just a little bit from the board, so don't worry. We're very happy for you. Our next report up is from Kaylin, our ex officio student board member. So Kaylin, please go ahead.
Good evening. I've worked this past month to gather insights from students all across the district, meeting with students from Weber, as well as Salem, Sousa, Daly, and Guggenheim, and I'm currently in the process of scheduling a meeting with Manor Haven. While the principals attended these meetings for their building, I share this report with them as well. The principals selected the student participants from each school. For this first round of visits, participation included the following. At Salem, there were 2 students from 5th grade, 2 from 4th grade, 2 from 3rd grade. At Sousa, there were 5 students from 5th grade. At Guggenheim, there were 5 students from 4th grade. At Daly, there were 3 students from 5th grade. At Weber, there were approximately 10 students across all grade levels. And at Schreiber, students spoke with me during the student council meeting and other points throughout the school day. Moving forward, I plan to stagger meetings with all elementary schools and the middle school so that I visit each school once every 2 months. Let me start by sharing some common themes and concerns that emerged from our elementary schools. Across the district, there was a very positive mood among students. Every school I visited had students who expressed a strong appreciation for their teachers. However, there were a few common challenges that emerged, such as noisy classrooms with disruptions, which can distract students from learning. This topic was only brushed upon, and I will follow up on it during the next round of meetings for further context. In addition, some students mentioned that they find math particularly challenging, so there may be a need for additional focus in this area to better prepare them. In addition, many students express a desire for more movement throughout the day, whether that means additional breaks or less sitting in classrooms. There was also a shared excitement about field trips, with students looking forward to future opportunities to explore outside the classroom. Fifth graders across schools are excited about their increased responsibilities, especially when it comes to leadership roles. Social connection and friendships were consistently mentioned as highlights for our students. Salem students express a desire for transition time between subjects to help break up their day. And Salem students in particular shared exceptionally strong praise for their teachers. At Sousa, lunch and recess were frequent discussion points. Fifth graders are especially upset that they no longer have their own lunchtime, and many students express a desire for more food variety and improved playground facilities. A number of students voiced their appreciation for clubs and leadership opportunities. Guggenheim students shared some facility-focused requests, like improving the blacktop and enhancing playground spaces. Students also expressed interest in having more advanced math and science options, as well as a wider variety of books and lunch options. At Daly, there was very strong praise for the interactive and fun teaching styles. Students also expressed excitement about extracurricular activities and wanted more opportunities to interact with other classes. Some students raised concerns about the transition to middle school and asked for better communication and preparation to ease that shift. Now turning to Weber, students share that they enjoy switching classes and meeting new people, and they generally feel well prepared. However, some students express a desire to change pods, have classes with different students from within their houses, and have more opportunities to connect with students from other houses. They also mentioned that they're still adjusting to the requirement to wear IDs. There were concerns about classroom temperatures being either too hot or too cold, and students would appreciate more accelerated class options beyond just math and science. Finally, at Schreiber High School, there are several notable topics that students have been discussing. While there are many highlights, students are typically coming to me when they have concerns. One of the most significant concerns is the loss of the senior quotes tradition in the yearbook. Many seniors are upset but unaware that this tradition is being replaced with a new feature called Seniors Before They Were Seniors, which allows students to submit elementary and middle school photos to be included in the yearbook. This new feature has specific guidelines and submissions are due by January 14th. Students have also raised serious concerns about the bathrooms at Schreiber, which are often extremely crowded and have become spaces where vaping is a recurring problem. Additionally, there are frequent complaints about the bleachers during lunch, as students have reported food and drinks being thrown around to the point where personal belongings are getting soaked. Another point of frustration for students is the infinite campus grading system, particularly the inability to see grade averages between the end of the quarter and the posting of grades. Students would appreciate the ability to see their overall averages before they are posted, as this is a time when they are trying to gauge their performance and discuss any issues with teachers. Finally, freshman students have shared that they are adjusting to high school life, and many mentioned that they feel the food at Schreiber is significantly better than what they had in middle school. In our work preparing for this meeting, I've discussed these concerns with Dr. Baer. As we move forward, the principals and I are excited to continue digging even deeper into the incredibly thoughtful feedback our students shared. The insights we heard reflect so many strengths across our schools, and the patterns emerging highlight just how engaged, reflective, and community-minded our students are. These ongoing meetings will help us celebrate the bright spots, strengthen our connections with students, and continue building on the positive momentum we are seeing across the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin, for that very thoughtful and thorough presentation. We've a lot to consider at this point. Thank you. We are at the point of our meeting where community comments are. You have something to say, Ms. Feingold? Thank you. You're invited to come to the microphone. As you know, please state your name. You have 3 minutes, and if you have any questions, we will address them at the following meeting during old business. Ms. Feingold, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jessica Feingold. I just want to take a minute. I hope you'll all join me in wishing our middle school principal a very happy birthday. I think coming to a Board of Ed meeting on your birthday is just another sign of Mrs. Javelin's dedication to her job and this district. So happy birthday, Beth. And I hope that you have something even more fun in store for you, maybe this weekend or something.
Thank you, Ms. Feingold. And yes, happy birthday to you, Ms. Javelin, and thank you for thinking of the Board of Education as your primary place to celebrate. We do birthday parties. There's no facility fee, so anytime anyone else wants to celebrate, please join us. Mr. Graham didn't realize that. Yes, thank you. At our meetings, there's no facilities fee at our meetings. How about that? All right, well, on to the next portion of our meeting. We have two discussion items this evening, the district-wide school safety plan and our secondary data overview plan. Mr. Graham, will you please get us started with an update?
Good evening. I was going to sing to Beth, but you stole my thunder. We're going to just talk very quickly about the sudden cardiac arrest plan, or an SCA response plan. This is added to our district-wide safety plan. It's part of a new requirement under DESH's law. This was an amendment to the NYSED education law, and all school districts must now include the SCA procedures in both their building-level response plans by September, which was completed, and in their district-wide plan by January 20th. As always, any updates to the district-wide plan require a 30-day public comment period. So tonight will be that first read. Tomorrow we will post the plan on the website for 30 days of public comment, and then we'll have a second read at another Board of Ed meeting. Over the past several months, we've worked closely with Nassau BOCES, Health and Safety, Mr. Schrottweiser, Dr. Shields, to develop a plan that aligns with the state law, also aligns with the American Heart Association guidelines. I'd like to commend Mr. Schrottweiser and our athletic trainer, Mr. DeSimone, because they were so prepared and so above and beyond that there wasn't really a lot of changes needed. We were already in compliance with most of the requirements. Many of the AEDs already met the compliance measures. Key elements of the new plan include training for all students and staff, a response protocol, designated cardiac response teams, updates to AED locations, signage, and maintenance schedules. For the training, staff will complete a GCN online training module on CPR and AED use and emergency response procedures. Students will receive their training through health and/or physical education classes. Another example of Port going above and beyond the compliance, all Schreiber seniors graduate not only as trained by this law, but they're actually certified in CPR and AED through their health in either 11th or 12th grade. Finally, the law states for all athletic events and practices, no matter the location, an AED must be on site and at least one trained staff member must be present, and all coaches must maintain a valid first aid CPR AED certification. Again, that's new to the law, but not new to Port Washington. That was already in place. This work ensures our district is prepared, compliant, and ready to respond in a cardiac emergency. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. I will just go to the board to see if they have any questions about this change. I'll start with Ms. Alvarez. Do you have anything? No, you know. Ms. Melwani? Deb, do you have anything? No, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for that thorough presentation.
Thank you.
And now on to our secondary data overview presentation by Dr. Feeney, Dr. Bear, and Ms. Javelin. It's the birthday gift that just keeps on giving. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for an opportunity to present our secondary data. Point out that this presentation clearly highlights how our secondary outcomes and initiatives reflect the progress towards our district priorities. This is an abbreviated presentation of an in-depth one that was given to our Board of Ed Curriculum Committee. And as we go through these slides, you'll see that the data reflects progress towards academic personal excellence and professional learning, highlights achievement, access, and readiness across all student groups, connects data to district priorities, and focuses on preparing every graduate for college, career, and civic life. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. That's a quote from Paul Battledon. The meaning of that quote, of course, is look at your results. If you're not happy with your results, go in, look at your system. What we've tried to do is impact our system to make sure that the results we get are what we are expecting, what we look for all of our students. We're going to begin by looking at the quick overview of the Weber middle school data related to Regents grades.
Good evening. no better place to spend my birthday than at a Board of Ed meeting. So what you have in front of you is our data of students' participation rate in Algebra 1, Earth Science, and Earth and Space Sciences for the last 4 years. So as you could see, from 2022 to 2025, we've increased the numbers of students taking Algebra 1. And then in Earth Science, this last year was the first year that we did Earth and Space Sciences. That last year was 133, this year we have 158, so we did also increase the numbers there. After comparable schools, it's a range of students taking it anywhere from 40% of the school to 95% of the school. So we're at the lower end of that range, and we are looking to increase that as we go on. Whoa, that went quick. The next. Okay, here we are. So then for the results on the regions, Algebra 1, we've increased the numbers. Actually, this goes 1 year further. So that, again, it's 4 years, but we started with 92 students taking the Algebra 1 regions. We now have 152 students taking the Algebra 1 regions. We have 100% mastery, and we've increased the numbers by 65%. So even though that our numbers have increased, we still have 100% mastery on the Algebra 1 regions. For Earth Science, I'm going to jump down a little bit. For Earth Science, we had 134 students taking the regions in 2021 to 22. We had 134 students. In 23-24, 162 students took the regions. And again, there was mastery, 100% mastery across the board in that as well. Last year was our first year that we did Earth and Space Sciences, and 133 students took the test. While we still had all students perform mastery, we had 100% of students that are above level 3. We had 62 students that received a level 5. They also changed it where in the past it was only up to a level 4. It's now up to a level 5. So that's a little bit where you see discrepancy there. So as you can see, we have outstanding performance across the board in our Algebra Regents examination, even though more students are taking the exam. In 2025, 60 more students took the exam, comparable to 2021, while still maintaining 100% mastery, which is the level 5 rate. And a district goal is to continue to prepare more students to be successful in both the Algebra and Earth and Space Sciences course. So we were doing a lot of work at the middle school to make sure we're aligning curriculum and looking at curriculum to make sure that students are more successful in these classes. It like sticks. No, I know it sticks.
I just want to point out that this is just the high school, the Regents-related data. We had a full presentation on the K through 8, including the New York State scores for Weber, and as well as the elementary schools last month. To cover the high school, Dr. Katie Bear.
Good evening. So really laying the foundation of some of the data you're about to see. Improving student outcomes has been the focus of our work at Schreiber, and we're really looking to maximize that graduation rate. That's through striving for excellence, strengthening instruction that's happening in our classrooms, and really expanding access and opportunities for our students. To give you the executive summary and kind of close in what you're about to see, including this year's projection, we're looking at over a 97% graduation rate for these 4 years, and that's supported by early interventions and really monitoring our students closely. So we just completed our Q1 grades. Report cards are out. We're already going through and looking at students, whether they are some of our upperclassmen, and making sure that our kids are on track or finding the supports that they need to remain on track for an on-time graduation, or some of our newer students in 9th grade and even 10th grade who maybe start to struggle a little bit more, and we need to find ways to help them be successful. Looking at our advanced Regents diplomas, this is the more rigorous of the diploma types. So students need to complete 3 Regents exams in mathematics and also have the additional science credits along with either a FLAX-B or another sequence. So nearly 8 in 10 of our graduates this past year earned the advanced designation, showing that they are really completing that more rigorous coursework. So when you hear people say, how do we focus on the students who are in the middle, not the at-risk students, not our high flyers, the kids in the middle, this would be representative of that work and making sure that everyone is striving for their best regardless of their level of performance. The seals and endorsements, these are really the early indicators as we start to transition to our new graduation measures. So the seal of civic readiness over the last 3 years, we've grown from 8% to 50%, and we are anticipating a higher rate than 50% this year again, as well as the seal of biliteracy, which we have now had for 2 years and doubling from 14% to 28% of our graduates earning this endorsement. This is really indicative that we are preparing our students better for what is next. They're finding their path and really engaging in a more rigorous level of study. As far as our AP performance, we again had a record high of 775 students take a total of 1,951 exams. So we had 90% of our students pass at least one exam, which is a score of 3 or higher. If you just look at the total number of exams, we had 88% of our exams receive a score of 3 or higher. So as you can tell, we have students who are taking more than one exam. An important measure to note is that 77% of our seniors took an AP course at any point when they were in high school. And 70% of our seniors passed at least one exam at any point in high school. So that's showing that we really are providing that access and equity. I'll dive into that a little bit more at a later point. We really want to reflect our building demographics and the demographics of students who are engaging in this high level of coursework. For any graduate, not just the students who participated in an AP course and exam, for all of our graduates, we had an average of 4.72 exams per class of 2025 graduate. That is a significant amount, showing that our students are not only engaging in this coursework, but in multiple course options. Looking at our Regents performance, this is still the exit exam to graduate for the next few years. As the new graduation measures roll out, we will be adapting to make sure that we are providing multiple pathways for our students. Until that point, we are looking at our Regents performance, especially our subgroups, because they do remain a bit inconsistent. So this is where that early intervention is so important to make sure that our students are receiving the support they need to ultimately be successful on the exam with a score of 65 or higher, or if we have a safety net or appeal option, we're looking for every single option to make sure that our kids are making it across the finish line. So sort of looking at our next steps, we are absolutely preparing for the new graduation measures, making sure that we are staying on top of what the state is releasing, going to one diploma type with these seals and endorsements, so still showing the high level of our work that students are completing, looking for the competency area pathways that currently exist in our course catalog and our offerings at Schreiber, and finding different ways that we can perhaps open up more pathways for students. Really looking at new curricula and the financial literacy and climate education to prepare for that, whether it's embedded within an existing course or added on as an elective course, and evaluating the on-ramps for students to enroll in at least one AP course during high school. So how can we ensure that students who maybe didn't start accelerated have that on-ramp if they mature later, want an opportunity later? How can we get students who didn't otherwise take one before their senior year get ready for an AP course? So you can see here, this would be our overview for the 2021 cohort. So just a really quick review, a cohort is determined by the fall of their freshman year, and regardless of the grade level that students are in, they are always attached to that cohort. So if for whatever reason they accelerate and graduate early, or they stay back because they didn't have enough credits to move to the next grade level, they are always in that same cohort. So for the 2021 cohort, which most of whom graduated in the class of 2025, we had a 97.6%, which rounds to 98% on our school report card, graduation rate as of August of 2025. We do get to include the additional summer months where we had some students take additional coursework. 78.4% of these graduates did earn that advanced Regents diploma, demonstrating the additional coursework required. And if you see here, back in 2019, 2020, we're hovering around that 95% mark, and we've had an upward trajectory. Granted, every cohort of students is different. We look at our students as individuals and make sure we give them what they need to really support them. We are aiming for over 97%. You know that 100% will always be my goal to make sure that our students are successful. On the right-hand side, you can see the endorsements and seals that they earned. Quickly, the with honors means that they earned an average of 90% on Regents exams related to that diploma type. Mastery in mathematics and mastery in science mean that they had a minimum of 85 on the exams. It would be 3 exams in each of those areas. And you can see here the seal of civic readiness and the seal of biliteracy. On the left-hand side is the number of students. On the right-hand side, very importantly, is the percentage. Last year, you heard me say it 8,000 times. The bubble class graduated last year. So 223 represented about 50% of the class. And even if we see that number around the same, it will be a higher percentage of students in this year's graduating class. It wasn't Beth, I'm doing the same thing. So I did check again this morning. Unfortunately, the Nassau County and New York State graduation rates have not been posted yet, but you know that I'll go back and update this as soon as we have that information. You can see that side-by-side comparison to both the county and the state. We do exceed the county and the state in all of these areas. One of the things that I do look at is, while we expect to be higher than both of these other measures, I look for the trends. So if we are increasing in, say, our advanced Regents diploma rate, or post-COVID, there was a trend downward because without the exemptions, students may not have gotten to that mark with the additional Regents exams. We're looking for trends and seeing how we compare trend-wise, while I would always want to be above both the county and the state. Here you can see the last 3 years. A seal of civic readiness we did start 3 years ago. The seal of biliteracy we didn't start until the 23-24 school year. So again, the trend that we're looking for here, the number is great, but I'm really looking at the percentage because each cohort has a slightly different size. So as we move on to the new graduation measures where we're looking at seals and endorsements, this will be our focus to really model the new work that we do over the existing coursework that we know has been successful, that we have in place, and we have a structure where we can track it efficiently and make sure that our students are meeting these benchmarks. It really wasn't Miss Javelin. It's getting a little funny now. Okay, so the other thing that we really look at, of course, we want our students to graduate from high school successfully, and we want them to be successful beyond high school, whatever that means for them. All of our students have their own individual path, and we're helping them maximize their own potential. So when we look at this past year, we had 6% of our students who attended a 2-year university or college. 4-year colleges, we had 84%, and then going into military, job, or a trade, we had 10% of our students. Again, the Nassau County rates have not been released yet, but you can see how we kind of compare year over year. So this is one of the reasons that we do focus on the Choose Your Future Fair. So we have students who are not college bound by their choice. So we do prepare our students to ensure that they do have options beyond high school. And we do have more and more students who are picking the military as an option or going to a vocational program beyond high school. And this is where the different preparation types really support our kids in what they need. When I can get to the slide, there are several programs that we offer to support on-time graduation. So a few of them are just behind you. We have the Freshman Learning Community, which is a 1-year program that allows students to have additional support as they transition from middle school to high school. This would be with the smaller class sizes, with that team-based approach, and those private family meetings that really help to grow that school-home partnership. This is only for their freshman year. Next, we have STEPS, which is over a 4-year program. We've added on to the STEPS program over the last few years, finding a need for our seniors to have the additional support in their humanities courses to cross that finish line. We do have Twilight that started. We are now in our 4th year of the Twilight program. This is the after-school coursework where students can earn up to 4.5 credits. I can tell you that we have options where students are only attending Twilight. We have students who are attending a full-day program and a class or two at Twilight. We have students who are attending full-day program, full-time Twilight, and full-time Twilight with a couple of electives in the afternoon. So any combination that our students need to be successful is how we really figure out the Twilight piece to fit it in. It can be either offered as credit recovery for a student who previously failed a course or as taking a course for the first time, and that's a better setting for them. The hours start about 3:30, and a couple nights a week we're going until 7:30, a couple nights a week we're going until 6:30. It just depends on the coursework they're taking. Summer school is offered at Schreiber. It's actually through BOCES, and that is strictly for credit recovery. And we also have the BOCES career and technical education option for general education and special education students. This has been tremendously valuable. When we speak with the students about why they enjoy their time at BOCES, they enjoy being at Schreiber for half the day and BOCES for half the day. It's a very, very different setting with students who have a similar mindset as far as the programs that they're involved with. It gives them a very unique and different setting. There are students who are receiving certifications in their areas and ready to go into the job market upon that 2-year program and graduation from high school. And they really enjoy having the hands-on learning experience for half of the day. It has been absolutely incredible for our students, and we've had tremendous feedback. AIS and support classes. So one of the questions that we received from Dr. Posse was about how are we supporting our students within Schreiber and how do we know that it's working? So here you can see the plus classes. For example, on our 6-day rotation, a typical Algebra 1 class would have 4 periods out of a 6-day cycle. When you add in the plus component, students are meeting 6 days out of the 6-day cycle. So they have class every single day. One of the very strong benefits is that they are meeting with the same teacher who is seeing what's happening in the classroom and where students need to really address skill gaps. Once you are in a plus class, the next year, if you don't need that plus class, you would just go into geometry. If you like this additional support of a plus class, you can stay in that plus class path. So this is not once you're in it, you stay in it forever. It's to meet the needs of our students. When you talk about a student who is really excelling, there's an option to move to just an Algebra 1, or a student who is struggling, you can move to an Algebra 1 plus class. This has been, you can see here, the number of students who are passing. We have an 87% passing rate. This is just in June. When you add on the summer months where someone may have needed a little additional time, a little additional Regents review, the number goes into the 90s. So you can see here for each of those plus classes, that would be the model. In science and social studies, we do have the AIS model. So this would be potentially with a different teacher, and it would be 2 days out of the 6-day cycle. English, the AIS is strictly for 11th grade. We did start a plus class for English 9 and English 10. Those students have not yet taken the the English Regents yet, because that's in 11th grade. So we are tracking those data to see if performance in sophomore English plus last year going into English 11 this year, along with potentially an AIS class, helps to increase the passing rate. So we will be keeping an eye on that. And certainly for next year, when you started in English plus as a freshman. Advanced placement, AP courses. I'm very proud to say that last year were recognized as an AP Honor Roll Gold member, as well as an AP Access Award member, for both the number of exams that were offered and the demographics mirroring the demographics of the school building. So as I had mentioned, the number of students, the number of exams, we did offer 33 exams. And here are the percentages that I had mentioned earlier. They call it equity and access. So 70% of our graduating seniors last year have received a passing score on at least one AP exam at any point in high school. 77% took an AP exam at any point in high school. So this currently, AP courses are open to any students in grades 10 through 12. If you are enrolled in an AP course, you are required to sit for that exam in May. If you see under the AP courses available, there are some duplicated numbers here. For example, if you are interested in AP statistics, you can take that as a 10th grader, 11th grader, or 12th grader. So you can see that there are some duplicated numbers there as well. If you're unfamiliar, I do have the scoring guide. AP exams are scored on a scale from 1 to 5, with 3 being passing. You can see the increase in the number of students. While our bubble class has graduated, we'll keep an eye on that number. The percentage is really important to us. So you can see that 62.1% of our students in grades 10 through 12 participated in at least one AP exam this past year. So that will be the number we keep an eye on. Here on the left-hand side, you can see the overall demographics of the school building, and on the right-hand side, those would be the demographics for our AP students. Obviously, you can see that the 9th graders were taken out because we don't have the freshmen involved in AP exams, but otherwise you can see, while not exactly the same, that we do have a pretty representative circle on the bottom showing the breakdown in demographics and also the gender demographics. There's another indicator called the participation index. So BOCE's IDW goes through and it looks at the number of AP exams taken divided by the average number of students per grade. And with the bubble class, it certainly increased our average. Schreiber has surpassed the county average of 3.65. Our participation index is 4.74. And you see how the number of exams has increased dramatically. So we have more students who are taking more exams in a single year. The next indicator that I really look at is this quality participation index. So it's not just about how do we get more students taking exams. We want them to be successful as well with that passing score of 3 or higher. So if you look at the county average, their quality and participation index is 2.99. Ours is 4.17. So not only do we have more students taking more exams, we have more students taking more exams successfully with a score of 3 or higher. It's very, very important to note, if a student takes an exam and scores a 2 or a 1, they really benefit from being in that course. It's really important to note that. So one of the things that Dr. Feeney and I have been doing are data meetings with our departmental supervisors, whether chairs or directors. And when we see an exam that has a 100% passing rate or everyone around 4s and 5s, our next question is, what is the barrier to getting more students in this class? So it's not just about how do we get more students passing, it's how do we get more students access. And then slowly we want to move the 1s to 2s and the 2s to 3s with the proper level of support. But it is incredibly important to note that participating in this high level of coursework is extremely beneficial to our students, especially our college-bound students who need that college level prep in order to be successful when they're transitioning to their 2 or 4 year institution. Here you can see that our AP scholars continue to rise. We again have a record number of scholars, 393 total. So the basic AP scholar means that you've taken at least 3 exams and scored a minimum of 3 on those exams. A scholar with honors is looking at an average of 3.25 with a minimum of 3 on at least 4 exams. And a scholar with distinction has an average score of at least 3.5, a minimum score of 3 on at least 5 exams. So we have 393 students who were able to accomplish this last year. Here you can see the singular page. If you've seen my presentations before, you know that there are many, many pages if you are interested in going exam by exam to see the comparison. So this is where we start. How do we see the overall success? Look at the 20 to 21 school year. We had 195 students receiving a score of a 1. This past year, with 301 additional exams, we only had 31 students receive a score of a 1. That is a huge shift to a level 2. And now you even look at that score of a 2, there were 350 students receiving a level 2. Last year was only 200 students receiving a level 2. So that means we are shifting our 1s to 2s and our 2s to 3s, even with more than 300 more exams at an 88% passing rate. Here you can see the exam. It jumped over the first one, but I think you get the point. Schreiber is the light blue, New York State is gray, and we also look at those global indicators in that dark blue. So this is a really quick overview to see how we're comparing to the state and globally. Wonderful. So Regents exams, you can see it jumped right over that opening slide. So here's where we're really looking at how we compare for these exit exams to the county. You see the N at the bottom, that's our number of students who took these exams. For a Regents diploma, there are 5 exams that are required. Typically, it's a mathematics. Typically, it would be Algebra 1. Also, in Schreiber, because we take living environment first, that would be the science exam, global history, U.S. history, and the English Regents. So you can see here how we compare on the overall passing rate. And it's important to note that these numbers are not reflecting students who took Algebra 1 and Earth Science at Weber. And the next slide demonstrates mastery. So these would be students who earned a level 5 for most of the Regents exams. Because we did take the old version of the Earth Science and the other science exams, those only go up to a level 4, but this would be equivalent to an 85. Here you can see the participation in the elective Regents exams. Elective means it's not required for the standard Regents diploma. So how are we addressing the students who are in the middle and really pushing them to strive for more rigorous coursework? So you can see for each of those 4 years, the number of students and the percentage of the class who are participating in these additional courses. So for example, for the 24-25 school year, with 85% of the students having taken Algebra 2 and participating in that exam, I know that our ceiling for the Advanced Regents designation is 85% because that exam is required. So these would be some indicators of how we're addressing that coursework and how we could potentially open up more opportunities for our students to be successful.
Thank you, Dr. Bear. Really impressive what is happening both at Weber as well as Schreiber over the last handful of years. And, just a gentle reminder, we'll talk about some of the next steps, but of course we've been focusing in on data based on APs or Regents and earlier on the 3 through 8 testing and our iReady testing. But, clearly our educational experience is a lot more than these results. We're going to see some of that this weekend up at Schreiber with their the fall drama and the activities they have at the elementary schools. So we always want to keep that in mind as we're discussing. This is just one aspect of the data, clearly of a student's experience. It's crucial, opening up opportunities and making sure all students have a top world-class education. But we've seen the data that helps inform our decisions and allows us to plan to continue to provide these sort of opportunities to more and more students in our district. The data tell the story of student achievement and opportunity. Each insight guides our next steps towards academic and personal excellence, and our instructional and system level decisions are grounded in continuous improvement. We have a shared goal. Every student's engaged, empowered, and growing towards success. So some of the system level shifts that we're doing include preparing for the new state graduation measures. Dr. Bear mentioned some of that. The implementation of financial literacy and climate education. This may or may not require a dedicated course. Different districts are doing it in different ways. The climate education will certainly need curriculum writing, materials, and possible some science lab adjustments. These are both tied to state mandates, both the graduation measures, the financial literacy, and the climate education. We're continuing to refine our early warning systems and our transition supports, expanding the systems that flag students at risk of falling behind before they actually need AIS or credit recovery. We want to improve our transition structures, not just from, say, the middle school to the high school, but within each grade level at the high school. Each grade level presents different opportunities and concerns for our students. In terms of instruction and student access, this is great. Okay, so there we go. We want to continue to expand access to AP and advanced courses by creating supportive on-ramps that equip more students with the skills and confidence to succeed. In some areas, depending on what happens in the middle school, in some cases, our students' trajectory in mathematics, for example, has by and large been fixed. We're trying to create some on-ramps that can be handled within Schreiber, as well as perhaps outside of the traditional school year, so students who maybe were not able to take an accelerated course at Weber are able to, quote unquote, catch up and get that acceleration at the high school. We continue to use the instructional data warehouse for analyzing student results for the Regents exams and to guide our instruction. An overall theme this year, district-wide, K-12 is looking at our small group instruction, strengthening that, and using data-based intervention to provide better differentiation within the classroom. So some of these activities may require some additional resources, whether it's in the term perhaps FTEs, perhaps being able to provide that professional development, but I just want to put that on the board's radar. So our results and our next steps continue to align directly with our district's commitment to engage, empower, and grow. So all of our actions, we want to advance our priorities for student learning, our professional growth, and our community well-being. It's looking at the data. That's what's going to help us to drive continuous improvement and align our school goals with our district priorities. There is a QR code that will not let me go back. We're going to post this. There is an extended presentation that was done to the curriculum committee, as well as the elementary data presentation is also on our website. So thank you. Last slide's not showing. Thank you, Ms. Epstein. Pardon me? No, you don't see it. Questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, sorry about that. So let's start, since most of our curriculum committee has already asked some of the questions, we're going to start at this end and then go down that way. Ms. Melwani, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. I have one question, and I'll first start with some thanks for giving us this excellent presentation. It's sort of a brief version of it tonight, and also at the last curriculum committee meeting for anybody in the community who wants to go deeper. That was a great conversation, so thank you for this. My question is around our measurement of student achievement in world languages. I'm wondering if it's possible and meaningful to review FLAC's exam data in this context to get a fuller picture of student achievement in that field of study. Sort of recognizing that the Regents was discontinued in that area 10, 15 years ago, but our students are still measured against cumulative curricular standards. Is that something that we can consider perhaps in future presentations or even this year to really get a complete picture of how our students are faring in language?
So that's an excellent point. Short answer is the students do incredibly well in the FLACS exams. We analyze that data. That's part of the data meetings that we have with the department supervisors. We've used the FLACS data to help impact some of the changes to realign some of the pathways in our language program. So we are absolutely using it. To your point, we have not typically included it in these data presentations. This is my fourth year of doing them. Simply because it's not at the same level. It's more of a regional exam. It's an important benchmark. Students need it, but if the board would like a reporting of that, we can certainly include that.
Yes, that's what I was reacting to, that we have that one data point, but it seems like perhaps there could be a fuller picture that we review as a board. Thank you.
Yeah, we look at them already, so we can certainly include them in a report or an update.
That would be great, thank you. That's your final question? Excellent, we'll go down to Ms. Alvarez. Actually, we're going to mix it up. Ms. Gilliard, why don't we go that direction?
So to echo you, though, we did get the longer presentation. Do you want to go first or next? So we had a very long conversation about this, about a much longer version in curriculum. Yes, both of them.
2 hours.
So I'm not going to repeat any of my questions. I do want to repeat my thanks, though, because I know different people are watching this meeting from the other meeting. I want to thank you again because there's a lot of information here. I really do urge people to look at the longer version and watch the curriculum meeting because I think we can only improve things if we understand what the current state is, and that data is what allows us to do that. And I really appreciate the deep dive and all the work that the three of you have done to take a look at that and understand where our students are so that we can push them all forward to where they can be if given the right supports and the right opportunities. Thank you. I'm going to leave it at that.
Great. Ms. Melconian?
It's the best committee.
Super. Go ahead,
Okay.
Ms. Alvarez. Thank you.
So I do have a question. I will echo everything that was already said. I'll say two positives. I learned in the summer I'm supposed to say two positive. I appreciate the very thorough data that was presented in both elementary and secondary. That's one positive. Second positive, the full transparency and really the dialogue, that, the entertaining of the questions at the last meeting, and then obviously this meeting again. Those are the two positives. So the next question is not a negative, it's just a question. So just a clarification question on the Weber one that I didn't notice in the last meeting. So on Weber, it says that a district goal is to prepare more students to be successful in the Algebra on Earth and Space Science course. Does that mean the students are already enrolled? Or does that mean to increase the number of those enrolled? Or both?
It means that, as well as making sure more students are prepared. Clearly, last year, the teachers learned a lot. Teaching the course, going through it, seeing the exam, seeing the results. Very happy to see that we had a surge in enrollment and more kids signed up, enrolled in that class this year at Weber. We're running it at the high school as well. The kids who are there, the teachers continue to do professional development to continue to expand their understanding of the course and making sure they can implement it. I've been in those classrooms. Teachers have invited us. They want us to see what they're doing. So we want to prepare those students, but we also want to prepare the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders so that as they come up, they have a robust science experience, so they're prepared to take the course as well.
Yeah, and I think we a little bit talked about it in curriculum, but for me, I'm trying to understand what is the barrier for that enrollment number? Why are not more students enrolling in these courses? And then what does that mean of what is the district doing? So is it just readiness? Like you said, you're getting them ready in those grades. Is that the only barrier? Is there something else? That is just one thing because we saw, the numbers of it, but the why part of why not 5 more students? Why, we do these surveys, we do a lot of surveys, and, one of the things that I haven't really seen is why didn't more students take this course? Why didn't you take this course, seventh grader, eighth grader? And maybe anecdotally, Ms. Javelin, but that's just like one of those things that I'm just wondering the access question of the opportunity for those students.
Right, so Ms. Javelin can probably speak more, but for both of those courses, the algebra as well as the Earth and Space Science, there are some requirements students have to pass through in order to get into the courses.
So we're currently looking at those barriers to see if we could get more access for students. We're also looking about what we teach in the Math 7 accelerated program. Is the course too hard? If we move the topics around in each grade level, can we have more students attain the material quicker? We're currently teaching a 2-year course in 1 year, which is really hard. So the expectation is that we were taking a top student. We're now talking about relooking and realigning 6 through 8 math curriculum to gain more access for students. So that's one of the conversations. We're looking at the process of how students get in. We've been doing iReady now for a few years. We're looking at the iReady data. Is that telling us something different? We're looking at the reading level of the test. Do we need to do something more with our reading scores to, increase the level of reading with students? So there's lots of pieces that we're talking about within our teams and departments to see where we can change to make more access for students.
And I appreciate that answer, especially with the iReady, because a lot of time and investment went into that program, and this would be one of those things. Does this help you better to understand those barriers or those opportunities for some students? So, thank you. My other question, I brought it up at the curriculum meeting, but I didn't have a specific question with it. But for all of secondary, I mentioned it in the meeting, but the disparity level for the Hispanic students in the AP courses. So, and I mentioned specific because, we do, State Ed does our report card, right? And there's groups for a reason, subgroups for a reason. So it's not a slight on Port Washington. This is looked at in the education world that there are certain subgroups for certain reasons that there's disparity. So it was seen, based on the data, that there is a very large disparity for the Hispanic students that are taking AP courses. I do understand that we received, that star of the access, and I commend the district on that 100%. So my question specific to that disparity is, we see like some of the next steps, and you spoke at that meeting, we've seen it here, of some of the items that you're doing to remove those barriers or, access later on, potentially. My question is it targeted enough to this disparity? Not just that it's going to change the outcome for all students, which 100% the board is always looking at all students, but when a disparity like this is glaring, really is it targeted enough to those students?
So I know that Dr. Baer puts great care into trying to communicate the disparity. You mentioned the AP Access Award. The data on slide like 21, 22, it's really a shift, one slide on the left and then you get both of them, speaks to the snapshot of this past year. That Access Award was given because there was not a significant disparity between the overall demographics as well as and the participation. Is there a gap? There's still a gap. That slide the last year compared to what it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, is a dramatic difference, and that speaks to the steps and the growth. Is there a single thing that gets done to change it? No, it's all of the preparation, strengthening your Regents level curriculum, strengthening the middle school program, opening up access points. That's what helps bridge that gap and create less of one. But this difference, this is remarkable, and maybe in future presentations we do a time back machine and take a look at what it looked like, 3-4 years prior. So there's been a lot of growth.
I will also jump in. So this is where we're talking about opening up access to students who have no other AP courses that they've taken. So who are the students? Why haven't they gotten there? I do believe open enrollment wholeheartedly. What I don't believe in is open enrollment of, well, anybody can sign up for the class, and putting them at the end of a cliff and saying, if you weren't successful, just pushing them off and saying, well, it's your fault because we said you could take it, but they weren't prepared. So looking at how we're preparing students, finding APs where students could be successful perhaps in their senior year if they've had no other AP courses. That's how we'd open up access. And then the other things, we do have a large portion of our English language learners as Hispanic and native Spanish speaking. So how do we open up AP courses that would be appropriate and not overwhelming for a student who's learning English and all of the content for these exams that they need to pass to graduate from high school, and making sure that they can be successful as well. So all of these things, while it may sound general system-wide, how can we make it approachable for everyone? Yes, I want that, but we are drilling down to demographics to see how we can target a group of students and make sure that they have the same access and equity, and the people behind them championing them to say, you can do this, let's try it. And if worse comes to worse, we can level down to a different course, but we still want you to try. So even things like who is teaching a Regents level course where we have commanding students coming in, well, maybe they have the English language learner background so that they can support students with strategies, help them get there so they would be prepared for the next step the following year. We're looking at all of these things with specific targeted strategies. Does that answer your question? More?
If the district feels that you are targeted enough, then that's the answer. Then yes, if you're feeling that it is targeted enough for this specific group, this disparity. So just to clarify, Dr. Feeney, because you were mentioning that between the two slides and the seal of excellence that, the award that Port Washington got, the slide presented, the numbers presented show a disparity. So you're just referencing that it's 2 different years, right? That's what you're saying. It's the same year.
The left
but
side is the building, the right side would be the AP students.
Yeah, the disparity is, so the disparity number is there's 34% of the Hispanic student body that will take,
25%
24,
building
did the
wide,
numbers for everyone.
25%, and then
It's
just about
24% and 50, I'll get my email out. It closed the laptop. It's a 34 total percentage disparity between it. So there.
No.
No, it's just under 12. It's just a little more than 12. Right? Hispanic or Latino, 25% of the population.
In the building.
And then taking APs, 12.6. It just a general, you should point out, there's a little, it's not quite even because, it's never going to be perfectly aligned, but for the College Board, that's pretty good. Also, this is including 9 through 12, whereas our AP participation is really only 10, 11, 12.
If I could just amplify a couple of things. You're raising excellent questions, and thank you, as always, for raising those questions and pushing us to think about ways in which we can open opportunities for kids. I think that we have to go back to the original quote that Dr. Feeney started the presentation with. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So what that leads us to question is the ways in which we can do many things to expand access and opportunities. Is there a specific thing we can do to target Hispanic students, to get Hispanic students to take more AP courses? Probably not. The better way to approach it is more holistically in terms of how do we expand opportunities for all of our kids, and one of the measures of success will be that the gap between the disparity reduces in terms of the subgroup participation because you've opened and expanded more opportunities. So what are things that we're looking at? We're looking at, as Ms. Javelin said, the ways in which students are selected for rigorous coursework. So what are the prerequisite requirements that you need to meet in order to get into honors, accelerated AP courses? Do those make sense? In other words, Are they accurate predictors of student success? And the more appropriate question is, who are they leaving out? And so that's the question that is being discussed internally, right? Who are we leaving out by having this barrier? And if we remove the barrier, what would access and opportunities look like? The other question that we're asking ourselves is to reflect on the breadth of the program that we offer, which is what Dr. Baer was speaking about before. So we offer a large number of AP exams, AP courses right now, but ideally we have 90% of our kids who are going to college. We should have 90% of our kids experiencing college level coursework while they're in high school. So right now we have about 77% of our kids experiencing college level coursework, which is good. It's a really good foundation, and it's leaps and bounds from where we were pre-COVID. So I think the growth needs to be celebrated. But the question is, what can we do in terms of expanding our course offerings? Are there additional courses that may be accessible for students and may attract different types of learners? That's also a part of the strategy in terms of examining that. So we're going to each one of these steps requires a deliberate process. It requires intensive collaboration. It requires intensive study, and then we'll produce a really good recommendation. Next month, Dr. Feeney is going to be presenting program enhancements. This will be part of that conversation regarding program enhancements, but we just have to remember where we are in terms of in this moment in time. And what I mean by that is that some of these discussions are going to require more time to land some of these open questions that we've surfaced here. But the important thing for the board and the community to know is that we're asking the questions, and we're looking at this and doing a deep dive examination of this. And you'll expect to hear more regarding that next month, and more regarding that in future presentations, because it really does reflect a shift in our philosophy.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And, I don't like to compare, I'm not comparing. When I ask, if we're doing enough, I wouldn't know, right? You are the educators. I'm asking all of you to tell me these are the steps as you've laid out, and this is where we're going to get. Granted, we're not giving quantified numbers on progress yet for this year, but when I hear another district do something targeted like a mentorship program for minorities, and the fact that in this district, regardless of subgroups, it is, I'm not saying it's still a thing, but to know, how do you even get into PEP courses, right? How do you get into PEP at a young age? The PR part of it and the partnership with the families is another component that I'm trying to understand. Is there anything else as a district, as a board, that we can be supporting to do? And maybe nothing that a board can do or a district can do, and maybe that is just through community partnerships. But what else are we potentially able to support as a board, and what initiatives potentially to make sure that it's not just, okay, let's take away this one barrier of access, like a teacher recommendation, right? What else is there potentially? Thank you.
Thank you again. And I just want to say that one of the most important things that I think you can do is what you're doing in terms of asking the right questions, pushing us to think differently about these very, very important issues. One of the things that we will also do, and I've neglected to say this, is look at best practices and approaches in other districts as well, so that we can also learn from our colleagues about things that are working well and seeing what that would look like in Port Washington.
Ms. Brooks, do you have any questions?
Thank you for calling on me. Yes, I don't have any questions. Well, actually, I do have one question. But first, I wanted to echo what everybody has said before me in terms of appreciation for the very comprehensive presentation. And I like the way Dr. Posse framed it as that the growth needs to be celebrated, because I have been in this district for many years and on the board now going into my 7th year, where we talked about this, but we never really walked the walk. And now we have not only philosophy, but we have practice. I just wanted to add my 2 cents. I'm going to continue to beat the drum for 9H English and 9H Social Studies. And if there ever is a possibility for those opportunities to be created for the students who are ready for those, and also those who feel that they would like to try it before they reach 10th grade, I would greet that with open arms. And with that, I will cede my time to everybody else. Thank you.
I think all of the questions have been asked, but I do want to stress a point, and I'm going to try and tie it all together. First of all, thank you to everyone who presented, both at the curriculum committee meeting and again tonight, and on your birthday, Beth, thank you. I've been in the district also for a long time attending these meetings, and what I was encouraged to hear, and actually most encouraged to hear, was we're not just opening the doors of access. It is the proper levels of support to make sure the 1s go to 2s, the 2s go to 3s, or even within the Regents exams, right? Those things were all implemented after COVID, and we are now seeing the benefits of that increase for students. What I was very encouraged to hear was today from the middle school, hearing that same drum beat as well, is that what we've been doing at the high school, we're taking down to the middle school. Not that we haven't always, but it's been a more concerted effort. We have iReady data that we can utilize and other practices that we're utilizing. And I think, again, we can continue to take that down somehow into the elementary level, which gets to what Dr. Posse was saying, and even what Ms. Alvarez is saying, is ultimately, if we can shore all of that up, right, then we're able to look at those partnerships at the same time that we have with our families and see, because we're growing everyone from the same position, right? We're trying to not just leave them at a cliff. We're trying to help support them each step of the way. And for that, I thank you. And I know it takes time, but I am encouraged to see the success of it and to hear the conversations continue to happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to the exciting motion to approve minutes from the following meetings: the October 3rd Curriculum Committee, October 6th Audit Committee, October 7th Board of Education meeting, and the October 20th Budget and Facilities Committee meeting. Do I have a second? Ms. Gilliar, and all in favor? We are 5-0. Wonderful. We are now to our committee reports. At this time, it appears that all of our committees except Audit have met. Audit will be meeting again in January. And so I'm going to ask now that each chair will present. I'm going to save the policy for last because I know we're going to have a little discussion with that. Ms. Melkonian, would you like to present on curriculum first?
I don't have to. We just had amazing presenters do it. So thank you to Dr. Bear, Dr. Feeney, and Ms. Javelin. I would like to share that next month our meeting is on Friday, December 12th at 11 a.m. Careful, don't be there at 10. And we will be discussing secondary level programming.
Wonderful. For budget and facilities, our next meeting date is December 15th. It's part 2 of many. At the last meeting, we don't have any recommendations for the board, but we did begin the discussion of looking at our building conditions survey. As you know, facilities and is one of our goals as a district and as a board. And we now, next meeting, we will be looking at how to fund some of the outcomes of that building condition survey. So stay tuned. That will be a multi-part discussion. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Brooks, who is going to lead us now in a policy meeting breakdown.
Very much. So we have had a very successful policy meeting. We actually got through our entire agenda, but that's because we kept it to 4 items. So, but the most important item on there, and the one that I've brought to everybody's attention tonight, is the grading policy. During our committee meeting, the committee presented an outline, a very comprehensive outline. We actually walked through it verbally, of what we thought a draft policy or a policy even in its finished form should look like in terms of basic headings and a basic outline. So we started with a discussion about philosophy, the purpose of grading, core principles, and everybody there will see a condensed version posted to board docs of what was included in that outline. Various topics, including consistency of grading systems and practices, timely feedback to students, I'm just flipping through, opportunities to demonstrate mastery, so forth and so on. And the conversation was, do we like these topics, first of all, as what we want as kind of a master outline for the substance that we eventually want to see in the policy. And in keeping with the board's direction back in October of the committee going in lockstep with the board and making sure we had the full blessing of the board, the committee prepared the outline that you now see before you with how do I say this? We tried to include as much substances in it as we could so that the full board and the public could see where we wanted to go with these topic headings without putting actual language in there. I had asked everybody on the board to please review the policy meeting, make sure they were fluent in what we were talking about, come back today or this evening to let the committee know, are we heading in the right direction? Do we like these topics? Just to begin with as headers, including our ex officio student board member. Along the way, feel free to chime in, whether it's tonight or any other time, reach out to members of the committee if you think there's something we have omitted in terms of topics. But the main, so that's the first question to the board. The committee has recommended this very basic outline, also subject to Dr. Posse and Dr. Shields chiming in at some point as to whether something should be added, changed, modified. But we just, before we proceed on December 5th with fleshing this out some more, we just wanted to make sure we're heading in the right direction. So the first question for the board is, are we heading in the right direction with these topics? So that's the first question.
Okay, so pause. Let's get a sense, right, just a second. How does the board feel? Okay, sense of the board, Deb, seems to be that we've got a, yes, you're going in the right direction, and I also agree.
Wonderful. So then everybody will see what the committee asked, a query for the board, that in the policy, so we have seen policies ranging from Great Neck to Jericho to Taconic Hills to Plainview Old Bethpage to Guilderland to Scarsdale, I mean, really all over the state. And some are very granular in what they have included in their policies, down to the percentage of weighting or the percentage that a regents exam can be. Others are more global. And so the query to the board is, where do you want the committee to go in terms of the drafting of this policy for an eventual first, second read, and then adoption? So option A, keep it broad and directional, where we just have very philosophical language where we can guide our administrators and our superintendent in terms of what to include in regulation, but we kind of stay away from the nitty-gritty. B, do we want to include a list of very specific attributes that we want to see in regulation? So providing a little more guidance to the superintendent and the administration in terms of what we would like to see in regulation, a laundry list, but not detailing what should be the substance of the regulation, which I think is a middle ground, personally. C would be more granular. Do we actually want to include specifics that might look more like regulation, but include the specifics into the policy itself. And that's a question that we're posing to the board now. Where do we go moving forward? And as we said in the policy committee meeting itself, in the policies that we were seeing, I think it was Plainview, Bethpage, there was another one, Hewlett, Woodmere, where there were actual really numbers like tests must be returned to a student within 2 weeks or within 3 days before the next assessment. The very granular stuff we opined was really coming from administration because board members couldn't really dictate the very specifics coming from administration, but being included in policy. So we have the gamut, and we are now asking for direction from the board as to what level of specificity the board would like to see in the policy.
Great. All right, let's start with the board. Is that okay, Deb, if we go to the board?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Ms. Alvarez, start.
Thank you so much for all the work that the committee is doing. Amazing job. As far as the three options, so one thing I saw the references on the other districts for the social media component, but not necessarily the grading one. And I just tried to relook up the email to see if it was an email. But the only question that I have first would be, is that you're referencing these other districts that they had really specific numbers. But my question would be, is how are their other policies? So are all their policies like that? Are all their policies very specific, very regulation-like, whereas this district hasn't necessarily? Like, I did a year on policy. I've been obviously watching policy. We haven't done our policies in that way. I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be that case with one specific policy, but were all of their policies like that? What did their regulations look like? I just think that maybe their philosophy and the structure of how they do it isn't very similar match to us. Does that make sense, Deb?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, or Jess
haven't
or
looked at,
Nanette.
I haven't looked at the rest of their policies. I think it's just those policies were used as an example. And if we think as a board that our policy, regardless of what we have in our other policies, because many of our other policies don't need to go to that granular level. There are very few policies that have regulations that aren't as granular, mostly in terms of percentages. But I don't know how to answer the question without looking at.
Yeah, you did, and I appreciate that. I will say that for me, the outline that was listed, and not just like the headers, but there is specifics in there, right? Like there's very specific things more a little bit than the current policy, the way it's worded. So the return of work timely, right? I do feel like a lot of our policies give an overall board concept or board goal within the policy or philosophy. And for me, like we are already kind of listing that, right? Consistency, your timely feedback, those are already pretty specific for me. So I personally would go with option one, and keep it the way that the outline is and not go into more specifics, because I find that it is already pretty specific on kind of the direction that the board is looking for, if that makes sense.
Ms. Bell?
I'll pass. I'm on the committee.
I'm thinking, if you want to go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna hopefully be clear about this. I think the direction, and by the way, I appreciate the work. I really also appreciate the outline you've all provided us. It was very clear and thoughtful. I'm probably between A and B. I do agree that I like the broad and directional, and that does go in alignment. And I do think if you are even, how you've established it is somewhat broad but specific. And the reason I say the B, and I know this was part of the conversation also at the meeting, was I do believe that guardrails are good. in certain instances. So where you use in B, include a list of specific grading system attributes. I don't know if specific grading attributes means you're going to get nitty-gritty and say within 10 days, within 5 days, or if you're creating a guardrail, so Ms. Alvarez used the word in a timely manner. I would feel more comfortable with the guardrail aspect, and I think that still flows with how we operate in our policies. So for example, I think one of the comments that was brought up, and you have it in here too, return of graded work in a timely fashion. I think K to 12, that is exactly what we should hope and set as an expectation. And you don't have this broken out as elementary or secondary, so this is even broader than our current policy. So I think putting in some of those guardrail expectations that we would have, especially K to 12, would be very helpful. That's where I am. I don't know that I feel I have a long, lengthy list of what we should include as far as guardrails are concerned, but we do consistently, return of tests in a timely fashion. I think we even had that in there. Grade books being updated in a timely fashion, things of that nature, being able to access the system in a timely manner. Certain grade guardrails I'd be fine with. As far as the superintendent must include in his regulation, I am perfectly happy with how you've listed your accountability and oversight area, where the superintendent is establishing and implementing comprehensive regulations and procedures, and it's to be reviewed annually against their grading system. I don't think that we should dictate any further than that at this point. And that's where I stand, and hopefully that answered your question.
Well, B would be saying that at a minimum, regulation should address, and then whatever those points are. So that would make sure.
So sorry,
that would tell the superintendent exactly what. Go ahead, yeah.
I'm sorry, Deb, then I misspoke. I'm only speaking, I should have just said from a policy standpoint, not from the regulation aspect. I was trying to separate the two, and I'm sorry I conflated it with the A and the B.
Okay, so then are you, because you said you were between A and B, B would be just listing at a minimum what we would want the superintendent to put into the regulation, making sure we want you to cover topic A, topic B, topic C, make sure it's in there, but not telling the superintendent how to address those topics, just making sure that they were addressed. So you say you were between A and B. Can I get a more definitive sense?
Yes, I will give you a direct sense. No, I do not need to, we do not need to direct the list. I think the superintendent and with the administration can put the list together.
So A is your vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
So the difference between A and B is, are you literally asking?
I'm talking about the regulation.
Yes,
I conflated it with the policy.
No, but I'm also talking about the ask of the regulation part. B is literally just asking, do we make sure that, so on the last paragraph, are we adding a third bullet basically that says the regulation must include all of the above? We've never had a policy that had to state that, whereas I think the opposite has occurred. No policy has stated that, and every time we've read a regulation, we're like, well, you didn't cover this little title, and then it gets edited, right? Or kind of a discussion. So I'm going to make a big assumption that the superintendent is already going to cover every single bullet. I'm not speaking for you, Dr. Bassi, but I'm just going to assume that that would be the nature of regulation.
So the reason I said I'm thinking is because I'm torn here. I completely trust the superintendent, but I think that the journey to the point is very important. And so I don't know that it's so much that I think that we have to have a list within the policy, so much as I think that we have to have a robust conversation in policy and maybe hear as a board about what those attributes are specifically and what the things are that are very important to us. I don't know that it needs to be codified in policy, but I think it's really important that the administration hear from the board about the values that we think are important to go into this grading policy. So I'm okay with a policy that is broader, and I do think most policies are better, a little bit broader, although I think we all do have some that have lists. But I think we still have to have the conversation. I think the conversation can't end with broad philosophical overview because this has now gone through a committee. We've had some parent comment. I think we need to make sure that really everything is being gathered so that this is heading towards something where all stakeholders can feel like this is what we really want the grading policy to be.
Deb, do you have a comment to that?
A, B, or C, Rachel?
I mean, come on, you of all people, you have pinned me down to a. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm okay with deferring to the rest of the board who I hear are heading towards an A. I'm not on the policy committee to enforce this, but my very strong caveat would be the way I would be okay with a policy like that is if we are having very frank conversations so that the administration and the Board of Ed, with input from other stakeholders, understand where everybody thinks things should be. And then I don't need it. I don't need it in a list. I don't need to go to B. I definitely don't need to go to C. But I think we need to have frank conversations about things like what is the practical impact in this district of making quarters an even weight? Why is there so much objection from students and from parents to that? And what are the cultural shifts we would have to do to get to the point where people would be okay with that? Why do we have people who feel strongly that we shouldn't have a do no harm policy about regions? And we have other people who think that the do no harm is exactly the right way to go. I happen to be in that camp. But we have to understand each other and understand philosophically like where we're coming from to figure out what the best route is for students here. And I think all the stakeholders who are involved want the best decision for students, but we need to understand in detail where we're all coming from. Short answer is I'm okay with A, but I want to hear a lot of conversation.
So to answer your point, and I understand what you're saying. In terms of what the board wants to communicate to administration, to the superintendent, to the staff, would be philosophically stated in broad terms, but not so broad that they wouldn't have meaning. We're really striving, especially in this outline, and I hope you can see through the objectives that we're striving for a certain message, kind of trying to communicate a certain message in terms of timely return, in terms of certain assessments not having undue weight, discussing what it means to hand in work belatedly, what it means to have multiple assessments, what it means to have uniformity of grading, of assessments, of opportunities to demonstrate mastery. So a lot of that is communicated through a very clearly articulated philosophy. I think what we experienced last year through this process was more regulation, and it was administration making regulation, basically, and bringing it to the board and the community saying, well, we don't like this. It was very clear during last year's curriculum committee meeting that the room was packed and many parents were upset. And that was the administration making regulation, really. And so what we're hoping to accomplish with this policy is to communicate very clearly what we hope regulation will look like without going into very specific percentages or point values or timelines and things like that. We want to involve parent input. We want to have student input through Kaylin and through other means. but we need to have those conversations as we go along and develop the policy. And hopefully we will get that input. We're certainly talking about it enough at this point.
Yeah, I am part of the committee, so, the only thing I would add, to sort of follow on Deb's point, is I am hopeful that through the iterative process of discussion, development, review, revision on both policy and ultimately the regulation that is brought to the policy committee through this process, that we will have opportunity to discuss all of those things, to solicit feedback from all stakeholders through our superintendent and the other mechanisms we have in the community and our student body. So I'm very hopeful that we will achieve that while still being able to do it in a way that is consistent with our own track record on policymaking, which is traditionally global, directional, and broadly philosophical. So I think we can do all of that. Yes, Ms. Alvarez.
Sorry to go back and forth, but I just need to clarify again because of what's being asked of us today. With this whole query thing of the how specific, whatnot, I think it's what was asked originally is kind of being like morphed a little. Like I'm not understanding entirely now, like where we're at with what the ask is, but I want to clarify that I'm not deferring like the board's role on what our philosophy is on this specific grading policy, because as Deb said, there was a curriculum committee meeting, there was feedback, there was a regulation, and now the board is reviewing a policy. So I can't really give my input on exactly how I feel about anything until I see a final policy. So I don't know how specific you want to get with any of the bullets because I haven't seen the final draft. So I'm not deferring at this moment because we don't have a policy in front of us. We have an outline in front of us. So one of the things that Ms. Brooks brought up is the consistency. Our policy had a word that is many times used throughout policies, and legally a lot of the policies have the shall, is, may, will, whatnot. What it sounds like from this outline is that that's going to be an automatic change. That potentially we want consistency. So if that's the philosophy, then somewhere in the actual draft that's going to be given to the board, consistency will be shown as what our goal is. So I'm not this whole AB, Deb, I know that you want like a definitive. I would prefer that I get the policy, and then at that point I can say, because I'm saying A now, but I might say, okay, that wasn't specific enough, right? So I wasn't seeing your point on this part of it. So I think it would help once we get the policy and the final draft of the policy for a first read for us to actually dive into the discussions that Ms. Gilliard is mentioning, those true discussions of is this hitting what we all kind of thought from June and then from the feedback given.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think that this is a purely directional question to say that the policy that the board next sees will be in keeping with A, B, or C. So we may put forward a policy, the committee may put forward a policy that any number of trustees may say this isn't specific enough because we went with option A, which is to keep it broad and directional. And you're like, this isn't really working. We need to get a little more granular. Had everybody said, oh, we want to go with option C, the policy you would see for first read would look potentially very different.
What is the recommendation of the committee?
I'm talking about the policy. We are drafting, the committee is drafting policy. The committee is not drafting regulations.
Which I understand. So I'll ask a different question. What is the recommendation of the committee on A, B, or C? What's the three committee members' recommendation at this time to us as a board?
Deb, do you want to answer that?
Sure. We haven't decided as a committee, I think, whether we wanted A, B, or C, because we were waiting for direction from the board. If you're asking my personal opinion, I think no matter what we do, no matter what direction we take, we will always start with A. We will always have the broad philosophical. It's important to lay out what the board wants. And if there are particular instances where the board believes the policy should be more granular, it's very easy then to go in and figure out where that needs to be. But we will always need to start with A. We didn't want to assume anything as a committee and start with C, for example, because that's also a lot of extra work that needs to be done by administration at this time, by the board to put in the granular stuff. So it's always easy. We're always going to start with A. A is a given. If there are particular pain points in the policy that maybe a board member says, I want to be very specific about the amount of days that a test needs to be returned before this student can be given another test, we can discuss as a board whether we want that in there. That's easier to put in afterwards when you have a more global perspective and you're able to look at the whole document. So philosophically, A is a great starting point. It can always be changed.
So to bring this home, I think, I know, Rachel, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
So I actually was thinking this before you started talking, Deborah, but I think this even more so now that you spoke. I kind of think that in many policies, but in this one in particular, the line between A and B may end up being difficult to straddle. So I want to say very clearly that in terms of like the overall outline, I think it's great the direction that you're going. I think it's really important that the committee started this way by talking about the philosophical overview and what are the objectives of grading and why do we care about grading. I think it's important that everybody be on the same page in thinking about that as a beginning. I think there are things in this outline that I'll give you one example, right? I noticed there's something about addressing the incorporation of class participation. I could see an argument on both sides about whether that's getting into the nitty gritty or not, right? I could see an argument about why that's philosophical and how we address class participation. So I think that where I would leave this, and I would let the rest of the board who's not on the committee obviously weigh in, is that I would like to trust the process. I would like to let the policy committee charge forward from here. And I think that you've heard a little bit of feedback from the board overall, but I trust the committee. And I think as you're starting to draft, I don't want the committee to be stuck on going back and thinking, well, is this A or is this B? There's a huge world of difference between A and C, right? And it sounds to me like all of us are saying maybe C is not necessary here and not appropriate and not how we want to handle it. But I think other than that, maybe you don't need more specific in your general direction and that, you can sort of see what makes sense as you continue, if you're comfortable with that as a committee.
All right. So to bring this home, if I'm adequately putting together everyone's thoughts, it sounds like we are happy with the policy as it has started, the outline as it has started. We would like policy committee to continue forth with that broad perspective, with the understanding that within that committee, there will potentially be deeper conversations on some of these more specific line items. But ultimately, the first read presentation will most likely be broad, and we still have the ability to add more specificity if we need to, which is really how we've always done all of our policies. And hopefully I'm adequately summarizing all of this discussion so that we can move to number 2. Do we feel we're good? All right. Deb, do you feel clear?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, it was perfect. Yes.
Go to number 2, Deb.
Okay, so number two, one of the other topics we covered was directory information, which is a standalone policy that is a subset of the student records policy. And directory information is a very specific term under FERPA, which is a federal law. And FERPA basically has a tension between personally identifiable information and information that a district, any district in the entire country, can tease out and say, we are going to take this particular set of data and we are going to designate this as not personally identifiable information, but instead directory information. And you parents out there, you will get a letter from the school district at the beginning of every year, and you will have 14 days within which to say, I want to opt out of directory information, meaning I do not want whatever the district has listed as directory information to be made available to the public. And that's what this policy does. And so this policy was brought back for the very specific purpose of adding video recordings, now that we're in the age of YouTube and sing-alongs and different kinds of projects that teachers are working on where they're making video recordings of students as part of the educational process. We have added that now to our directory information policy, which is why it is back here. Photographs are already on directory information, already considered directory information, but video wasn't, and we're just trying to catch up with the 21st century. So that is the purpose of that policy being here. As I stated in the committee meeting, this now means that once this policy is adopted, which will be today, because our policy on policy adoption allows for us to have a first read and an adoption, waiving the second read all in one fell swoop. So we are legally within our rights to do that as a board. Once we have adopted this policy, a brand new FERPA letter will be sent out to the parent community saying, we're giving you another opportunity to opt out. You have 14 days within which to do so, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's basically why directory information is here. Now, in the course of that conversation, we started to ask administration, would it be helpful to have a social media policy or a web publishing policy, or basically just to revise our technology use policy to bring everything in alignment, to make sure all of our practices are uniform, the consistency and uniformity, making things streamlined, so every single teacher who wants to post on social media or make videos or post photographs or whatever, they all have a process to follow. They all know what the procedure is. And the committee said, yes, we think that would be very helpful. And so we've now brought that to the board with some examples from Chappaqua in particular, just as a preliminary research to show you what it could possibly look like. And so we're trying to get the sense of the board. Is everybody or is the majority on board with making revisions to our current district technology policies? I know, Ms. Epstein, you were going to raise the acceptable use policy, which is part of that whole suite of policies. And so the question is, do we have the board's blessing to do that?
Ms. Brooks, I'm going to take a sense of the board by hand raising. Oh, that Ms. Alvarez has a question first. Go ahead, Ms. Alvarez.
And just clarifying question, are we talking about a social media policy and an AI policy, both, or one specific policy? Am I lost on this?
I think we're talking about a suite of technology policies, which may include an AI policy, may not, may include acceptable use, may include web interfacing, may include social media. If you look at the Chappaqua, they have a whole bunch of policies that we don't even have. So, but I think she's just asking, is this a good direction to go through? Ms. Alvarez is giving a thumbs up. Okay, great. Everyone. Deb, you got double thumbs up from everyone. So we're good to go in that direction.
Thank you all. And the final thing is the next policy committee meeting will be December 5th. Please note there's been a change of time. It will now begin at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone, for that great conversation going back and forth. All right, we're at consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone wants to have pulled this evening? No? Wonderful. So I'm going to make a motion to approve items 13.1 through 18.1. Do I have a second? Ms. Alvarez, and all in favor? 5-0. Wonderful. I know some of this has been already said, but on behalf of the board, we'd like to take a moment to highlight the retirement not only of our very own district clerk, Denise Atenito, but also Ruth Smith, who unfortunately is not here. They both have served with us in managing our agendas, handling our phone calls, calendaring, and basically pulling off the impossible and putting all of this together to make it happen. And it really, I think Dr. Posse said he wished he had a little more time with you. He only had 4 months. I personally have had a lot of time with you, and I'm going to try and pack in the little bit of time we have left to make sure the board is all set for the rest of the year, Denise. So we thank you. We hope you enjoy this next chapter and that Ruth also enjoys this next chapter in your lives, and you have a wonderful and fulfilling forward motion. And we are very thankful that you were a part of this Board of Education. So thank you for that. And with that, Mr. Vane has left, but we are certainly excited for his promotion as well. In addition, we'd like to take a moment to thank our donors, Port Soccer for shirts and jerseys, Power Tem Gym for the Jacob's Ladder for the fitness room, Viking Sports Foundation, both the football and hockey parent groups for the portable water jug, and alternate uniforms for breast cancer fundraiser. Daily HSA for the installation of the Legacy Project and the 4th grade field trip in Taekwondo. Salem HSA for playground equipment, 1st grade Alvin Ailey program, 5th grade hip hop and submerged storytelling. And Sousa HSA for kindergarten beautification project, 5th grade field trip, 4th grade submerged storytelling. I want to thank everyone who helped contribute to those donations to just make this even more exciting here in the Port Washington School District. And with that, we're going to move forward to item 19, which was policy. And thanks to Ms. Brooks' very thorough presentation about policies, you will see that we have a couple policies on for first read. Policy 0115, which is student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention, and policy 5500.1, directory information. Are there any comments or questions on these particular policies? Ms. Alvarez?
So sorry. So on bullying prevention, I know it was discussed at policy, and I don't have a specific question that I would like it edited, but it's more concern. So on that policy, it's referenced that we use report it, and the nature of reporting any harassment, any bullying. And I know that the committee had a thorough discussion on it and that it's only in the secondary level. And I believe that there was some discussion on the potential review of what the website lists and whatnot. So I just want to stress my concern that our policy states on page 6 that the district will ensure the process of reporting bullying is clearly stated. But at this time, even looking today, I don't feel that is occurring. So I have attempted to use Report It. I only have elementary age students, and it is at the moment not on the elementary school pages. It is needing to list when you go through it which school. So by default, it's only listing 2. So that is just a concern of mine. I want to say that maybe we discussed it last year. I know that this policy, all policies can get edited, reviewed, and in nature, the regulation can be a little bit more broader, whatnot, practices and more important. But our policy states that it will ensure the process of reporting bullying is clearly stated. And I just don't feel that that is occurring. So it's just a concern of mine. I'm going to agree that this passes past the first read, but it is still a concern.
I personally will echo that. I would just hope, again, reported is something we've had in the secondary level, and really it's the high school level that it's at its strongest. I will agree with you that it would be nice to make sure that it is well advertised and students know how to utilize it, parents know how to utilize it, and however we want to use it at the elementary level. But I leave that implementation up to our administration in that regard. I'm fine with how it's listed in the policy.
No, I was going to say that it's really up to administration. At that point, that's not the board's lane. It's up to the administration to make sure that the various building principals are aware or communicating this to the parents. That's the purpose of the policy, is to make sure that happens.
Wonderful. Okay, so with that, it looks like those have passed our first read, and now we're going up for policies for adoption. As you heard, we are waiving second read on 5500.1 directory information. So I'm making a motion to adopt policy 5550.1. A motion to adopt policy 5550, student privacy under the protection of pupil rights amendment, and policy 5500.1, directory information. Do I have a second? Ms. Malconian, and all in favor? Ma'am, do you have your hand up? Okay, 5-0, thank you. Wonderful, those passed. Thank you all for that. We do have some questions from our last board meeting. We had some questions that stemmed from the parents who spoke regarding the grading policy about is grade inflation still a priority, and why was this decision made prior to the approval of the new superintendent and director of guidance? I'm going to let Dr. Posse start the conversation on that.
Sure, thank you. So as you heard today, the board's undertaking a comprehensive review of our grading policy. At this stage, the board's review is not centered on a single concern, such as grade inflation. Rather, the purpose of the work, as you heard, is to ensure that grading remains a positive, meaningful tool that clearly communicates student learning, supports growth, and reflects a student's mastery of the curriculum. We also want to reaffirm that grades should help students understand their strengths and areas for improvement, and provide families and educators with information they can use to support each child's development. So the second question was, why were decisions made before the arrival of the new superintendent and the new director of guidance? So the changes announced in August were the result of a multi-year committee process led by high school teachers and administrators. That work began 7 years ago, well before my arrival and that of our new director of guidance. The committee concluded its work in June 2024. The committee was advised to share its report with Schreiber stakeholders during the 24-25 school year. This process culminated in a presentation to the Board of Education's Curriculum Committee in spring of 2025. The final recommendation was forwarded to Dr. Shields in June 2025. Dr. Shields reviewed that proposal with me and Mr. Orini at that time. The process reflects the district's shared decision-making model and was aligned to the board's existing grading policy. For that reason, the recommendations were advanced and implemented. As feedback has come forward, the board is taking the time now to review the policy and ensure it remains aligned with what our students need.
Thank you for that. We also had a number of students from transition towns speak. They were focused on, can the school district work to phase out plastic all year round? Is the district willing to put in the effort to be plastic free? And is installing dishwashers a possibility for the future? And again, I turn that over to you, Dr. Posse.
Yes, Ms. Manuel has done some work on this, so she'll respond.
Sure. Excuse me. So in regard to the first question, can the district work to phase out plastic all year round? I'm not sure if anyone can completely do away with the use of plastic, but we are trying to make strides towards reducing that. With that in mind, we have looked at our single-use bottles. We've installed water fountains and refilling stations, and we encourage students to bring their water bottles as well as staff. We've looked at, in our food service, we look at our snack packaging. We're trying to do things in bulk, not to wrap the individual pieces of fruit, use paper containers when possible. Also, use of biodegradable trays as well. There was another question, is the district willing to put in the effort to be plastic free? Dr. Posse and I met with two of the students from Transition Town on October 30th. And we also worked with Aramark to make sure we participated in the National Plastic-Free Lunch Day, which took place yesterday. So all 7 of the buildings, we had handheld foods like chicken and biscuits. They had sandwiches that were put into cardboard boxes or paper. We had fruit smoothies also in cups. We had paper straws instead of the plastic straws and stuff. So these are things we're working with our contractor. Probably not as fast, but it needs to be gradual and to set goals accordingly. Also, is installing dishwashers a possibility in the future? Yes, we think it is a possibility, but we do need to look at the infrastructure and see if we have the correct infrastructure and the spacing in our kitchens as well. I'm also trying to work with the grant writer to see if there's funding. I know Governor Hochul has put some things out there about infrastructure for kitchens as well. So that is one thing that I've been very interested in myself. It's just taken a while to actually get there, but.
Thank you, Ms. Manuel.
You're
Appreciate it. Does anyone have any new business that they'd like to bring up?
Deb?
This is our second opportunity for community comments. I did not see anyone go up to put their name up. Do we have any community comments? No? Wonderful. Then we'll just move on with our final thoughts. We really wish everyone a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. Wobble till you gobble, gobble till you wobble, I guess is what we say, right? And we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting on December 12th. I'm making a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Ms. Gilliar, all in favor? 5-0. Enjoy, everyone. Thank you.